Are you an early childhood education and care student who is wondering how to find the best placement? I can help. Tune in to watch this video where I'm going to talk about what is work placement, why work placement matter, what to consider when you are choosing your best placement center, and how to approach this center management and get your spot. Work placement or practical placement is a mandatory requirement for Education and Care Certificate 3 and Diploma. For Certificate 3 we have 160 hours of mandatory placement, while for Diploma we have 280 hours of mandatory placement. So you have to do your placement, and this is a requirement. Apart from the hours, you also will have to complete practical tasks. So typically this involves setting up environments for play, observing children. In my case, we have 4 children to observe and create 4 portfolios. We also have to ask students to perform nappy change that will be observed by their supervisor at workplace and by the assessor who will come and assess them. We also ask them to access policies, read handouts, participate in evacuation drill, and pretty much all aspects of the program. So apart from being a mandatory requirement to complete Certificate 3 and Diploma of Early Childhood Education and Care, placement also enables you to get those practical skills that you wouldn't otherwise get in the classroom. For example, in my course, Certificate 3 and Diploma that I teach through flexible delivery, we do have simulations in class. When I was teaching in the classroom, we would have a lot more simulations when we would make formula, lift baby dolls, but it's still not the same as being in the classroom, being in a room full of 8 babies who are crying or crawling at the same time. So this is a real world setting. It is practical placement for a reason. As an early childhood professional, I have completed quite a lot of professional placement hours myself. I did Certificate 3 in Children's Services where I had to do 120 hours of placement. I had to complete my graduate diploma of education where I would do my hours, and masters as well required some hours. Also part of my graduate diploma of education, we had to attend at least 5 different centers, and we were placed in the centers randomly. We had to agree to that. So my experience in placement is quite large as well. So that's why I created this video to support you. And one main thing I want to give you is that any placement is a learning experience. What does it mean? So placement is not just a requirement, as we discussed, a mandatory requirement. It is also a foot in the door. What does it mean? Foot in the door means that you are presenting yourself as a potential worker, as an educator, and you are showing your skills. A lot of students that I have, if they presented well and the supervisor liked them, they were invited to stay. Case in point, my student B, she was really great at her placement in long day care setting, and they offered her a job, which means that she completed the rest of her placement making money. How great would it be? But also you might not make money, you would not be employed, let's say, as a casual at this stage, but you will be considered as a potential worker, and once your placement hours are over, you will be offered this job. So it's very, very important for your future perspectives. But if you don't get a job, you still got your learning experience. Now let's consider how you can select the best center to suit you as a potential educator and as a student who is studying towards Certificate 3 or Diploma. So finding center sometimes is not easy. There are a few things that you need to consider. For example, number 1 is that the center should be an early childhood center that is registered and approved by ECEC. So it should have a provider approval. You also should have a center that is in close proximity to you, so you should have access to the center. Whether you're gonna travel by car, by public transport, or by foot, you will have to have access to the center. You also will need to have access to all age groups. That is a requirement for your certificate 3. For example, you need to have access to babies under 12 months, babies over 12 months, toddlers, and preschool age children. Environment is also important. Environment is something that you will see whether you walk past this center or they gave you a little bit of a tour and you loved the vibe, you loved how educators talk to children, so you felt like you belong here. Few times I experienced that when I was looking for a job or I had my placement. In some centers I would feel comfortable, in others not so much. But anyway, learning experience. Remember, always learn from whatever is on offer, but if it's uncomfortable, you can always change your placement. ECEC is our regulatory authority that supervises national quality framework. If you go to ECEC, you will be able to find the potential center based on your zip code, right? So your postal code. And you will be able to find long day care. You will be able to find preschools or whatever early childhood center you are looking for. Ratings are important. There are few ratings that a Department of Education and Training or regulatory authority gives to the center, and one of them is working towards national quality framework. So I would suggest to look for centers that are at least meeting national quality standard or exceeding national quality standard. If you will be lucky to find an exceeding and excellent center, that's the top notch, you will definitely learn a lot during your placement. So rating is also important, yet remember that the center should still meet the requirements for the age group. They should be accessible to you and they should have spots available to offer. Before you start looking for placement, you may need to know different types of ownership, and I'm going to introduce them to you. So we have few types of ownership. We have private centers, so that are owned by private companies, corporations, or people. They might be small and boutique, or standalone, or they might be large. So these large private centers, chains, so they are quite big. They have this corporate culture, so you might check G8, Guardian, Nido, Explorers, LC, etc. You also can find public centers. Public centers could be community run. They could be council based. For example, I had my placement in city of Kingston, council run LDS or long day care. It could be preschool or long day care. They also could be school adjusted, so they could be owned by school. They also could be private as part of private school. For example, I have been to one private school and they had early childhood center as part of this arrangement. These types of ownership are important to know, because if you are going to have placement in the private center that is standalone, usually it might be quite small and you might even meet the owner. It is owned usually by the family. If it is a private center that is part of a large corporation, so you will be part of a larger structure. So it might be a little bit harder to probably get to see the managers, and the process of getting the placement or future job will be a little bit multi-step and more complicated, so less intimate, if it makes sense. As for councils, the process of getting placement in council probably as difficult multi-step, not impossible though, as finding a job in council-run center. So you need to first go to the website, so council website, and find the center address. Then you need to go through the process of application. And typically these centers ask for your kind of resume or description of what's required for your placement. They might even ask you to have this a little bit of an interview before you start, whether you are a good fit. So these centers will definitely ask for that. So not always, but this is my experience. So they're a little bit more strict with choosing who to accept and who to dedicate time to. Last but not least are non-for-profit centers. Non-for-profit centers put their profit back in the operation, and the famous non-for-profit chain is Good Start Early Learning. It's really a great center to have placement in, and you can find other non-for-profit centers such as KU, C&K, Windermere, and Lady Gary, and you will research and find the one that is in your local area. So these centers are also quite good typically to have placement in, and I highly recommend that. Now there are also different types of centers. So we do have here we do have preschools, we do have long day care, yeah, or LDS, and we do have the early childhood centers that include preschool as well. So they are, I would say, more integrated centers. There are also occasional care centers, after school care centers, but we're not talking about them at the moment because you can't really have placement in family day care. It's better that you have placement in long day care or preschool, or both, because if you are doing certificate 3, you need to cover babies under 12 months, and you need to have access to group of children. So with preschools and long day care, the main difference is that this usually serves any children over 3 years of age, while this one caters for 0 to 5 years of age. Yeah, so this is the main difference. Also, this one operates some days and certain hours, while this one operates pretty much from 6:30 to 6:30, 52 weeks a year and 5 days a week apart from public holidays. Personally, I think it's easier to do your placement in a long day care facility because you have access to all age groups and you can get to know the center team. You can move from one room to another, and it's easier for you to get to know children as you watch them, as you work in different rooms, get to know educators. So I find this provides continuity. Yet in preschools, you can learn this different way of organizing programs. And now we have few more new programs that are planned to be implemented in Victoria, where I am, which is pre-prep, and that's going to be a story for another video. Some students ask, can I complete some placement tasks with my own children? The short answer is no, because according to the training package that covers certificates 3 and diploma, you have to complete your placement under the supervision of qualified educators, and you need to have access to registered early childhood center education and care service that is approved by ECEC. So it's better to do it in a safe way, so you don't waste your time. You can definitely then apply all these practices to your children, but you will have to complete all your hours and all your tasks in the registered early childhood education and care service. Some students ask me, can I do my placement hours in long day care and some placement hours in preschool or standalone kindergarten? Yes, you can, but you will need to write or sign 2 placement agreements, and you need obviously to run it by your trainer and assessor. So that's an important part. Having 2 places to complete your placement hours may be quite invigorating. For example, I really liked having placement in different centers. During one of my courses, I had placement in kindergarten or preschool in Rowville, and the other part of the placement I completed in long day care facilities. One in in beautiful Aspendale and the other one in Edithwell, and I also completed some hours in Carrum Downs, not far from where I live and work. So for any placement that you choose, you need to go through certain processes, such as sign placement agreement. Also, you need to run it by your placement coordinator or your trainer and assessor. You need to have working with children check, or what we call WWWC, which allows you to work with children as a volunteer. Once all these documents are ready and you completed, let's say, first aid certificate, which can prepare you for placement, and work health and safety unit, you are ready to get started. How to contact your center? Number one is to call them. Yes, that's the easiest way. Hi, my name is Kate. I am a student enrolled in Certificate 3 in Early Childhood Education and Care. I am looking for potential placement for my Certificate 3 hours, and I was wondering if you can help me to find placement at your center. I really loved your center and I'm wondering if any spots are available. So if you are talking to someone, they might transfer to the director, so you will have to use this speech again. But if you are afraid of calling, maybe try emailing, but I guarantee that calling is better, because they will hear your voice, they will feel that you are engaged, and they will understand that you also are quite proactive and confident in looking for placement. So you will show initiative. Also, you can try to walk into the centers that you like and ask the same question. You might bring the resume or simple outline of your course, or maybe statement of enrollment, so you can guarantee that you are serious about your placement. And you can ask anyone at reception whether you can speak with a nominated supervisor or educational leader to discuss potential placement in their center. Remember that the centers are very busy and short-staffed these days, so you might need to be patient and also be ready to do a few cold calls, right? So always be polite and friendly and make a positive impression. Treat it as if you are going through a job interview. Use your network and leverage your network. You also can ask your friends, your family, for any advice on potential placement. A lot of people take their children to early childhood centers. You will be surprised how many people actually had placement in early childhood education and care center. So be open, be friendly, and ask around. You also can ask your trainer and assessor, because they are professionals. You can ask your colleagues at work if you're currently working elsewhere. You ask other students or students who finished this course before. Use Facebook forums as well, because some centers are actively looking for people and trainees and students, so they might actually advertise some interest in placement or a traineeship. So you can find placement this way as well. Location is quite important for finding placement nearby. So if you are not traveling by car, you need access to public transport. So maps are perfect for that. If you go to Google Map, you will also find a lot of great centers in close proximity to you. Another thing to consider when you are choosing your placement center is the Google reviews. Sometimes they are not 100% fair. And you need to take it with a pinch of salt and compare them with a SQL rating. But if they are looking legit, you can actually consider Google reviews as well. Now, last but not least, red flags. Sometimes placement doesn't go well. And there are some red flags to be on the lookout for. Number one, toxic workplace. So toxic workplace, when you don't feel comfortable, you feel that everyone is gossiping, it's a lot of aggression and kind of underlying violence. So the culture is not really good. Also, you might notice that center is not clean, well maintained, organized. You might not see management working in the office. So you see chaos and it's not really well organized. Rude educators who are your supervisors is always a red flag. Non-compliance, for example, ratios are out of whack, and you also can see that children are not treated with respect, families are not treated with respect, and you as a student completely ignored or bullied. You need to leave. First, talk to your supervisor if possible to sort this issue out. You also can talk to your trainer and assessor, but never let all these issues to become your problem. So typically it is, if you behave well and if you are polite, it is the center problem. So you need to change your center. There are many wonderful centers to find and lots of places to learn from. So I wish you all the best in finding your perfect center. So if you have any questions, post them in the comments below under this video, and I'll make another video, or we can discuss it in the comments section. Thanks for watching, and if you like this video, please share it with your friends. Click on like and subscribe button. Bye for now.